Hello, clever people, and welcome to my review for The Last Days of American Crime. So this film is directed by the guy who did Taken 2 and 3, and it doesn't really star anybody that's that big, and I'm not going to mention anybody. And this is a Netflix original that is about this new technology that the government has developed that will send out a radioactive wave that will basically suspend anybody's brain from letting them commit an action that would be considered a crime. And as a result, it's going to end all of American crime. And it's about these people who have committed crime that are trying to figure out what they're supposed to do. This movie made headlines because it got a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is something that is pretty dang difficult to do. And especially if it's a movie that you're genuinely trying to make good and it's not just like a silly, stupid comedy that's meant for a certain demographic of people. This movie I was not looking forward to at all. I had not heard of it before it got the 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. And not many people, nobody was talking any good about this movie. People were saying it was really long, it was really boring. It clocked in at 2 hours and 29 minutes, which is a really, really long runtime, especially for a film that doesn't really know what it's doing. And yes, I did not like The Last Days of American Crime at all. I will admit, the concept here is interesting. I think that there's problems with it. It's very unrealistic. There's no way this would ever happen, but I think it's kind of an interesting way to tell a story like this, to have a plot summary like that. But I don't think that the story was told in any interesting way. In fact, I had a really hard time keeping track of what was happening in this movie. It seemed like they came up with this idea, a brainwave that stops people from committing crime. Okay, and then they tried to build a story around it, but the story around it was a complete second thought, and it had no care behind it, it had no focus on it, and ultimately it just proved to be really weird, confusing, and boring. And when this movie isn't being boring, it's being laughably terrible. There's a certain scene, I think it's a microcosm of exactly what's wrong with this movie. There's a certain scene where these two characters are going to a party, and you don't really know why they're at the party, you're kind of confused, but you say whatever, and then one of them gets called to go talk to their dad, who owns the mansion or something like that. So they go and talk, and then soon enough, it gets really violent, and the dad and the son are trying to kill each other. It comes completely out of left field, and it makes no sense, and it's just so weird how the movie handles its subject matter. It has no care behind it. It doesn't really matter what the story is supposed to be about, because there is no story really. It's just, look at these characters walk around and look at them try to escape this thing, and then when it finally happens, you've already completely lost your attention because you have no clue what's happening. The end of the movie is really bad too. The acting in it is absolutely awful. Overall, there's no redeeming qualities about The Last Days of American Crime, really. I can't think of a single one. Yes, the 2.5 hours feels like 6 hours. It goes on forever, and the cinematography is bland, the filmmaking is bland, everything about it is just like sloppy, disgusting oatmeal. I think that's a great way to compare this movie. It's something that you watch, it has no taste, it has no flavor, and by the time you're done, you wish that you had just never started it. I'm gonna give The Last Days of American Crime a 2 out of 10. Alright, that concludes my review for The Last Days of American Crime. So, what are your thoughts on this movie, or what is your favorite high concept film that didn't deliver super well? Comment in the comment section below and let me know. I'm Robert Burke, and this has been The Clever Critics. Goodbye.